radiation of the murmurs. And high frequency murmurs, for example, in case of aortic stenosis, they usually go upstream. Upstream radiations will be there. For example, they go to carotids. So in case of aortic stenosis, you can get murmurs which are even heard at the carotids. Okay. In case of low frequency sound, they travel downstream the tissue and they usually get heard at the apex. Okay. For example, your MDM murmur of MS. It's a low frequency sound. So you are going to hear it at the best heard at the apex of the heart. So low frequency murmurs usually downstream the tissue, high frequency usually go upstream the tissue. It is not the mandatory rule. It is general rule that they go high frequency go up, low frequency go down. And one more thing which you should remember is here I forgot, in case of apex, this is the murmur which is most important, is only heard at apex. It cannot be heard anywhere else in the precordium. This you should remember. If somebody asks you where all you can appreciate MS murmur apart from the apex, nowhere else I'll be able to appreciate. So regarding this, in case of radiation of murmur, nothing much is there. So next we'll come to the dynamic auscultation of murmurs. So what does the dynamic auscultation means? So you are going to do some maneuvers, okay? Some of the physiological changes you are going to bring some, like for example, respiratory variations. You are asking them to sit down or glide down, or you are going to make him sit up, or you are going to take deep inspiration, deep expiration, or it is something like you are going to make him do hand gripping exercises, squatting. So many things you are going to like tell the patient to do them. So those are the mechanisms, like those are the methods by which you are going to alter the cardiovascular hemodynamic changes you are going to bring there. So with that, what are the changes in the murmurs you are going to appreciate, and those will help you in finding out the exact valvular lesion, or like help you to approach a proper valve which may be involved. See, for example, what happens is in case of standing, so if a person is like supine position, suddenly he stands up, venous return will be reduced. So your right sided, whatever the filling venous return is there, that gets reduced. So usually your murmur decreases if it is a right sided murmur. If you suddenly raise the leg, or you are going to make the person lie supine, so there is increased blood flow is there. So that increased blood flow, increased volume like stenosis like attacks, there could be increased murmur. So what happens is that day we told like in hand exercises, for example, what happens is that day I told in case of HOCM. So in case of HOCM, what happens is if, for example, this is the asymmetrically thickened valve is there, like a septum is there. This is your anterior mitral leaflet, which is tissue is there here. This is the AML, intermitral leaflet tissue is there. So this is your outflow tract, which is the aorta is there. So if you are going to increase the resistance here, so this is having a difficulty in pushing the blood out. Okay, that will cause your slightly movement of your thickened tissues, so they are going to reduce your murmur. For example, if you do vasodilatation like this, so that easy flow is there, then fast the blood will flow. So if the blood flows more faster, there will be more appreciation of the tissues. So there will be increased murmur with increased speed of flow in the region of your mitral leaflet and your asymmetrically thickened wall. So this is the reason, like you are going to do your hand grip exercises, you are going to do in case of HOCM, you are going to do. So when you do your hand grip muscles exercise and you are going to taut and you are going to do the hand grip, there is an increased vascular resistance which is produced in your upper limbs. So your subclavian arteries and are going to become little resistant to your entry of the blood. So that is going to indirectly cause pressure over the aorta, and it is going to reduce your LV output, and that is going to separate the tissues, and your murmur intensity decreases. So Valsalva phases, actually there are 4 phases as I have written. Each phase is having its own different types of changes of murmur. I don't want you people to know each of the stages and what are the things which are happening. For example, I'll tell you first two phases, how it gets complicated. When you are going to strain, so what is Valsalva? Valsalva is against a closed glottis you are going to expirate, or expiration you are going to do. So when the glottis is closed and your blood is not, like air is not coming out, and your intrathoracic pressure goes on increasing. So that positive intrathoracic pressure is going to help you push out the blood. So your cardiac output increases initially, and this is going to increase. So your LV output also, like LV output is going to increase here. But when you continue the strain, output has gone, input is not coming because of your reduced, like negative intrathoracic pressure is not there. It is a positive intrathoracic pressure. So there is a decreased venous return. Then it will help, then it will lead to reduced SBP. Then it will cause in reduced diastolic blood pressure. Then it will cause a compensatory increase in heart rate, so many things. Then what happens during the release? So one more phenomenon, when you release the Valsalva manion, venous return increases, then again heart rate changes, then your DBP changes. There are so many phenomena which are occurring. This is for the postgraduate level. So I don't want you people to get into this and forget every other concept. Like if they ask you what is an example for systolic murmur, then you will be telling I don't know, sir. But you will be knowing the 4 stages of Valsalva, which are not at all required for your level. So this is what happens. So I want you people to all like forget these all things. So it is not required. We want you like 4 stages are there. This much is more than enough. If you want, remember the 4 stages. That's it. Not more than that. I don't want you to know what are the individual changes which are occurring, and because of that what are the variations of murmur. Not at all required. If it is given in your book also, just turn the page and go ahead. That's it. So Valsalva phases are there. I think they have given in your book regarding stage 3 Valsalva some examples he has given. Phase 3 Valsalva or phase 2, maybe 1 or 2 examples he has given. If you want, you remember them. Otherwise, I don't want per se for you people to remember what are the dynamic auscultation changes of Valsalva manion. Then we'll come to the systolic murmurs. So systolic murmurs are like you have S1, you have got S2. Any murmur which is occurring in this region. Okay. So this is your systolic murmur. From S1 to S2. Okay. This is your systolic murmur. So we have divided the systolic murmur into early systolic murmur, like mid systolic murmur. Then you have got the late systolic murmur. So each of these things in examination, they are going to ask examples for this, this, and this. And this was the place where I was caught in my UG examination, and I was about to be failed, and I got 81 marks out of 160. Even though I had answered majority of the things, I was not able to answer this because I knew the physiology, but I was not able to give prompt 3 examples for each of the causes. Tuck, 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 they were expecting the answers, and really I was not able to answer. That was the reason, like I have told, maybe I have told the story of this. The examiner literally threw the paper on my face and he told, why have you come to examination when you don't know the simple causes of, fast you are not able to tell the causes of, three causes of systolic murmur and diastolic murmur. Why are we taking exam for you? And they stopped at my session and they went for lunch and they came back and completed 3 more people who were next. So I still have the, like something like post-traumatic stress disorder with this section, like systolic murmurs only, because my case was RHD with MR. This was the case I got as a major case in my UG. So we have got ejection systolic murmur. You have got causes are acute TR, acute MR, and VSDs. So these are the 3 causes. If you remember, I think more than enough. Early systolic murmur. Early systolic murmur. So why it is occurring early in the phase, why it is in the mid phase, and why it is in the late phase. As far as somebody asked the time atrial gallop and all, I will seriously tell you, I also try to understand very nicely the physiology, why it is in the acute early occurs, why in case of chronic TR and MR it is a pansystolic murmur, everything. And when the examiner asked me, tell fast 3 causes of each of the murmurs, and I was staring blank at the examiner, and he literally threw the paper on my face and telling like why I am taking exam for you, and they went for lunch break. That day I remembered mugging up was also more important, and it was equally important for giving Viva examinations. That I have realized. Okay, so please by heart or memorize or remember so so that in sleep also, if somebody slaps you and wakes you up and asks you, tell me 3 causes, you should be able to tell three causes. So you have got mid-systolic murmurs, you have got aortic stenosis, then you have got pulmonary stenosis, then you have got in case of HOCM. So HOCM, we have got, this is one. Then these are all like stenotic causes only. Then you have got your ASD. Then you have got something called as Still's murmur in case of children. Still's murmur in case of children. And that day in GP discussion, we have told like something straight back syndrome that will mimic ASD. Okay. So straight back syndrome can also have MSM, mid-systolic murmur. Straight back syndrome. Somebody. Innocent murmur will come. We are going in from the murmurs. Okay, we'll finish all the murmurs and we'll come. So ASPS, HOCM, then we have got Still's murmur and ASD. These are the examples here. These are the first line examples we expect from you people to give. Then late systolic murmur, you have got like MVP and the tricuspid valve collapse. So these are the two examples we have here. So mitral valve collapse and tricuspid valve collapse. So these are the two. And we have got many more examples here, 4, 5, 6. It is your job to remember them, but I want you people to tell answer for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 causes you should be able to tell for MSM. That's it. So first, if you are able to tell 6 causes, it's more than enough. 4, 5, 6. Like somebody was telling innocent murmur and all those things. Like you keep on adding them, but I want you people to tell these as a first causes. Okay. Now next we have got pansystolic murmur. We have got something like in case of chronic TR, chronic MR, and we have also get it in case of VSDs, not VSDs, in case of PDA, and there is something called as Gerbodes defect or Gerbodes defect, whatever you want to pronounce it as, Gerbodes defect. So these are the causes for your pansystolic murmur. So what is the Gerbodes defect? Can anyone tell? VSD and PD, not PDA, sorry. It's a VSD only. I got confused with the continuous murmur. It is VSD, Gerbodes defect, chronic TR, and MR. So what is this? Anybody can tell me? What is this defect? Left ventricle. Somebody told half. Yes, it is LV to RA. So this is a congenital abnormality. It is an abnormal connection from LV to RA. So this is called as Gerbodes defect. So we have got a pansystolic murmurs here. Okay. And you have got something like, you have got some other causes are also given. So many other causes are there, like you have got aortopulmonary window, AP window we call it. So many other causes are there, but we don't want you people to remember like first 3 we should be able to tell. Sir, VSD has ESD. See, again it is a small. So that time only again I am telling. So this VSD is there, no? This is a small VSD. It will be ESM. So this will be a large VSD again here. So again it is having, we are having a in VSD topic. I think it will be very nicely it is given. I think in case of your OP high, because we don't at least have read anything regarding VSD types. I think hardly I have read. I think it is muscular VSD, then we have got membranous VSD, then we have got subpulmonary VSD something. I don't remember this classification is correct or not. So this is how we are going to classify VSD. I think in OPIC high he gives the very nice descriptions of VSD and different types of VSD, different sizes of VSD. What are the different phases where you are going to get your different type of murmurs. Okay, so that Gerbodes defect is nothing. It is a defect which is causing connection between your LV and RA that is going to cause your pansystolic murmur. That's it. There is nothing special regarding that murmur. Like it is a congenital anomaly. How we have got a PDA, which is abnormal connection between aorta and your pulmonary artery. Like that we are having the abnormal connection between left ventricle to right atrium. That is going to cause a pansystolic murmur. That's it. So one more thing is they will be asking you what is the difference between uh, this is the S1 and S2. So if the murmur is included in S1 and it is going completely and it is also including S2. So what is this? No, this is type, this is 2 and this is 1. So if the murmur is like this, so what is 1 and what is 2? So what is first murmur and what is second murmur? This is starting just after the S1, okay, and ending at just S2. And what is second murmur, which is involving both S1 and S2. I'll give you the clue now. Which one is holosystolic murmur and which one is the pansystolic murmur? One is what? Two is what? One is holosystolic murmur. Two is pansystolic. So yes, this is a holosystolic murmur. This is a pansystolic. Pansystolic murmur will involve S1 and S2. So there is obscuration of the sounds. So S1 and S2 cannot be heard properly in case of pansystolic. In case of holosystolic, S1 and S2 are usually not involved. Okay, this is the difference between holosystolic and pansystolic. But clinically or like working point of view, we do not actually differentiate like what is holo and what is pan. Usually the terms are used interchangeably. In at least clinical practice, we usually call most of them as pansystolic. Holosystolic murmur, rarely we use the term. Okay. Then what is called as Gallawerdine phenomena. What is there in case of aortic stenosis? What happens is, in case of aortic stenosis, if this is your LV and this is your semilunar valve, which is output is there, and your mitral valve. So this corresponds to your aortic area, and this is your apex. So what happens is here the radiation of like that time I told in apex what are the murmurs you are going to hear. So one of them was AS. So in aortic area also you have AS. In apex also we have AS. So the radiation of murmur from here to here, there is a change of quality. Quality of the murmur is changing here. So this is a harsh murmur here and it is a loud murmur here. The same murmur, but whereas in apex it is a musical like murmur and it is a soft murmur, like little softer murmur. So this is the called as Gallawerdine phenomena of aortic stenosis. Radiation of the murmur, the same murmur which is appreciated a harsh and loud murmur in aortic area, and in case of apex you are able to appreciate the same murmur as a musical type of softer version of murmur, that is called as Gallawerdine phenomena. And coming to your diastolic murmurs, so it is between S2 to S1. So whatever occurs here, it is your diastolic murmur. Again, we divide it into early diastolic murmur. We divide again here into mid diastolic murmur. Then we have got here late diastolic murmur, or something we call it as pre-systolic accentuation murmurs. Also, you can call it them. You can call like that. And we'll classify them. Now, early diastolic murmur. Early diastolic murmur, we have important causes. We have like pulmonary regurgitation. Then second one is aortic regurgitation. Then we have got something like cholecystolic murmur. Then we have got like named murmurs, like we have got Graham-Steele murmur. So these are the important causes you are going to tell. So what is like pulmonary regurgitation secondary to pulmonary hypertension is your Graham-Steele murmur. Can anyone tell what is cholecystolic murmur if somebody has read? Where you get the cholecystolic murmur? Named murmurs. Okay, then we'll discuss, because I have extra slides in the next part where I have discussed all the named murmurs only. We'll better discuss in the next part only. Okay, I have one more slide there. So I've got a MDM murmur are there. So MDM murmurs, anybody can tell 2 to 3 causes? Mid-diastolic murmurs. First cause will be, first one, MDM, MS. Austin Flint will come. Again, I am telling, don't give the fancy answers first, because MS is the most expected answer from you. You have got MS. MDM murmur of MR can be there. These are the two first things will come for you people because these are your exam cases. Then somebody told about the Austin Flint murmur. Then we have got something called as Rittan's murmur they call, or something they call Rittan murmur. So this is of your complete heart block. Then PDA, somebody asked how PDA will come here. PDA is a part of continuous murmur, right? Okay, so these are the important causes which you are getting here. Okay, and that only in case of Austin Flint murmur is a part of your AR only. Okay, so in case of AR only, so you can get in case of AR you can get MDM murmur. Okay, so these are the different important conditions which you are giving examples. Then in case of late murmurs which you are having in case of complete heart blocks you get, and moderate to severe AR only you get, like not very severe AR, not very severe AR. In this you are not going to get your late diastolic murmur. Then MS with pre-systolic accentuation. Carey-Coombs murmur is not in late diastolic murmur, right? Is Carey-Coombs murmur a late diastolic murmur? It is in Carey-Coombs is here, or sometimes from here it extends to next, not in the late part at least. So these are the important causes you are going to give for your late diastolic murmur. So Graham-Steele murmur is due to your pulmonary hypertension, pulmonary regurgitation, which is occurring secondary to pulmonary hypertension. You are going to get a Graham-Steele murmur. Then Austin Flint murmur is due to your aortic regurgitation. Okay, in case of aortic regurgitation, what is happening is your mitral, I think we'll discuss it in AR only. Better topic is AR, we'll discuss in detail regarding Austin Flint murmur, like why it is occurring and what are the differentials you want to give there, because we have some confusions regarding MS and Austin Flint murmur. We get little bit of confusion, so we'll discuss in detail regarding that in either MS or in case of AR. So we'll just remember Austin Flint murmur is AR now here. So these are the two things which you should remember. Continuous murmur, what happens is in case of PDA, so this is your S1, this is your S2, and this is your S1 again. So in PDA, what happens is continuous murmur is like this. Okay, so it is having a peak near S2, so this is the peak here. Okay, in case of AS with AR, what happens is so this is your S1, this is again S2, this is your S1. So aortic stenosis. So what happens is, what type of murmur you are going to get here? Can anyone tell now? Just now we discussed back. So it was not starts as early. It is something like mid systolic. It is somewhere here. So it starts somewhere here, like this. The murmur starts. This is the murmur which we get here. And in case of aortic regurgitation, we have early murmur also, AR and TR, and we have got Austin Flint murmur. You have got again your pre-systolic accentuation and all. Again, you may have one more murmur here. So what happens most of the time, if somebody is auscultating, if he is not very keen, then he will think PDA is also having a continuous murmur. Then this is also a continuous murmur. He may interpret like that, because it is having a systolic as well as diastolic. This is AS with AR. It is also called as Bellows murmur, BELLOW, Bellows murmur. I think timer is going to end, I think less than 1 minute. I think it will be ending here only. I think it will be better because already 40 minutes to session we completed. So you want to continue means you tell me, I'll continue and I'll finish murmur today. Otherwise, we'll do tomorrow. Okay, so what you do is today, whatever things are there, you people just read it, like until continuous murmur you read it. Tomorrow we'll finish the remaining part of the murmur and then we will go